All right. Hello and welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. We are here with Chad Hunt, a one-click contractor, and we are basically blasting off our new integration with one-click contractor. You might have seen this already in the integration page in your Roofle platform if you've been paying attention to things, but we are kind of officially announcing that, and we're going to take a little bit of time today to get into that integration, what it kind of offers, what it means, what you can do with it. So off the top, I'd like to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. We are wrapping up the year here at Roofle, very, very busy. New updates that I'm sure you guys have seen come through. New integrations like this one coming through, and we're going to be rolling strong into January. So we're going to have a couple of big episodes coming through in January, a couple Spanish language episodes planned to come through before IRE, and everything kind of building up to IRE itself, of course, the big main event of the year for roofers and roofing software companies like ourselves. So we're joined today by Chad Hunt, like I said, a one-click contractor. So before we get into the rest of the episode, Chad, do you mind introducing yourself? Give us a little bit of background on where you come from and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chad Hunt, Vice President of Business Development over here at One Click. Been here for about 4 years, joined the team. Fun, interesting background that kind of goes into what we're talking about here. So was in the remote measurement space for a good part of my career. So ran a portion of the insurance business over at Eagle View. So super excited whenever I see remote measurements and what you can do with that. Got to see that industry literally go from nothing to where it is today, which it's an integral part if you're a roofing or siding contractor. So was a part of a startup that was in that space. We got purchased, exited there, and then I had the opportunity to rejoin a crew. So some of the key members of One Click were actually part of that foundation of that industry. So I work with a lot of our partners like yourself, our enterprise customers, manufacturers, just kind of more on the enterprise side of the house. So excited to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Now we're going to get into what this integration does through the course of this episode. So what we're going to do is show, for anyone who might not be aware of it, the Roofle process, just to give you kind of where this integration would start. Leads come in, they go into your Roofle platform, and then they jump over to your one-click contractor platform and what you can do with it from there. So Courtney's going to show us kind of a live demo of what the Roofle platform looks like, how it operates pretty briefly, and then we're going to let Chad kind of run us through what that looks like on the one-click contractor side.
All right, I am going to share my screen. So typically what I'm going to do here is there's kind of two parts to the Roofle platform. One of them is going to be the external customer-facing experience. So what you're going to see here is I am sharing our demo platform, just our demo landing page. So you are going to notice that we have the slide out widget. So with this, somebody can come in off of your website, enter in their address, and get pricing based on your products, and everything is customized within the product cards here. So your pricing is completely customized by you, and as well as the display and options like that. So homeowner comes, what they're going to do is they're not being shown square footage, they're not being shown any really details. That is going to be the other part of the software, which I am going to showcase here is the internal platform. It's one of my favorite things about Roofle is like the rep quotes piece. So as you're going to see, similar or very close to the same as far as what you saw in the embedded, you're going to have your own widget within the internal system here. So if I use that same address, I'm going to show you just what the difference of information that you have at your fingertips within the internal portal. So this is great for sales teams. This is great for door knockers. Somebody as a receptionist gets a phone call, wants a ballpark. Sometimes you guys get questions from realtors. What would this cost my customer? You're able to build trust very quickly. The pieces that you're going to see that's different from the homeowner experience is you're going to get the pitch that was detected, but then you're also going to be able to have access to the information that was like measured. So you're going to have the tariff square here, the waste factor. You have the ability to turn that price range on to send the custom products and pricing to your homeowner. as well as the additional cost pieces here. These are really supposed to really kind of fit with how you guys operate in your current sales process. Again, in 30 seconds, you're getting an idea of pricing, but what can't be determined is what these additional cost questions are designed to do. If anyone wants any assistance in getting this type of experience set up for your sales team or even somebody within your team, please reach out to our customer success team. Justice and I would love to go through this, get this in a very well working manner for you guys. And we can even do a virtual sales training on how to use it within the sales team as well.
Yeah. So one of the things that I like to highlight about this is the power that it gives you to kind of contact your customers and reach them where they are. So whether they're in the kind of research stage for a project and they're looking around all over the internet to get information on, hey, do I even need a roof replacement? Do I, how do I tell if I need a roof replacement? What should a roof cost me? A lot of consumers are only going to have one interaction with a roof in their entire life, right? We work in the industry. It's all we really do. But for consumers, I mean, if they buy their forever home at 30 years old, they need to re-roof it at 40 and they're going to retire in that house, they're only really dealing with a roof once in their life. So thinking that way is, hey, how do we present ourselves to our customers to be part of that kind of source of knowledge and source of researching, right? So we want to be a resource to our customers, and them being able to give us a call or jump onto our website and get a rough idea. Again, a consumer, their first and only interaction with the roof in their entire life, jumps on your website and immediately knows, oh, this is what a roof should cost me. I've got a general idea of what a roof should cost. When they speak to you, you already have that trust of, hey, I was transparent from the beginning. You were on my site for 30 seconds and I already told you a general idea of what this should cost. And it gives your sales team an added level of trust and confidence with your customers from the very first interaction. So that's why I really appreciate the way that this works and the way that it interacts with customers, because it fits kind of my generation of homeowners and of consumers. We want information quickly. We want transparent information quickly. And once we get that, it builds the trust to say, great, now I'll have a conversation with you. Since you just answered my question right off without giving me a sales pitch, now I'm interested in continuing that conversation with you.
And that's exactly where one-click contractor comes into place. What do you do once you're ready to close that deal and kind of take it to that next level?
Perfect. So yeah, we'll pull up this slide, and then Chad, do you mind kind of giving us an overview of one-click contractor before we look at how this integration works?
Yeah, absolutely. So one-click contractor, what are we? Who are we? So what we are is an end-to-end sales operation and estimating platform. The ultimate goal is to streamline the sales process. And mainly we kind of think about it in three components of scoping, presenting, and closing. And our platform, I wrote down three things when you were talking there, and when I was preparing for this, they align perfectly. It's trust, transparency, and professionalism. What excites me about this partnership is that you guys are setting the tone right off the bat with how that customer is going to expect to be interacted with. You're a tech company, right? They're coming in, they're using technology, they're seeing it. You're taking them 10 steps ahead by using Roofle, as the contractor's using that. And it's a perfect segue into one-click. So that's great if they're using you, but then if you're going in there and you're using pen and paper, it's going to be different. You're kind of taking steps back in that kind of customer journey and sales experience versus somebody that's using a one-click contractor type solution. So very excited to keep talking about this. If you want to jump to the next slide. As we kind of touch on, I think about our business in three buckets of scope, present, and close. So, scope, Roofle comes in on that. So the lead's going to come right into our system. All that information that is provided comes over. So when that sales rep is going in the home, they're kind of loaded for bear, like right off the bat. But we also have all the other component pieces that are in there. We'll kind of go through it in a bit more detail. We can actually match the templates. Justice kind of walked me through what you can set up and all the kind of if-thens that you can configure or want to potentially configure. We can mirror that in one click. So you can kind of take that quote high-level estimate and turn that into actual material that's going on the roof, definitive pricing, not only from a customer contracting perspective, but also from a production ordering material, things of that nature. You have all the tools that you need to present that to the homeowner, whether you use an Engage or using PowerPoint presentation to tell your company story, and then as well as very quickly and efficiently generating estimates, proposals, and contracts that you can put in front of that homeowner to close right there at the kitchen table. That's one of the, I don't say one of the biggest things, but a key component of OneClick is enabling and facilitating that one-call close. So everything that you need to do to close that job the first time you go out there, between this marriage, you kind of have everything you need right there.
I like that continuity that you mentioned, kind of being able to bring those templates of the material of, hey, this is what you saw in an instant quote on our website in 30 seconds. But now as I'm showing up to your house and I have maybe my iPad or a laptop to show you a full presentation, that exact product that you saw with a nice presentation of that product and everything that's included, so I can answer any questions. I like that continuity of, from that first iteration, that first kind of experience you had with my company, my sales reps are showing up with that exact same information. We followed it up. We are dialed in and ready with the information that you're going to be asking for.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. That continuity is key, right? Because you kind of set the expectation up front. And then if you go in there and you're not well versed or you're presenting something different, you're eroding that trust and that confidence that homeowner is expecting. And, there's no secret that, this is one of the least trusted industries that are out there. So you've got to always put your best foot forward and do everything that you can to build that trust and build that confidence. And, we feel, though I'm extremely biased, I feel like we help that of adding that level of professionalism and showing that, hey, I'm the right company and this is why you should give me $17,000 to, do this roof and do this job.
Yeah. And trust your kitchen and your bathroom and your children's bedroom to not leak because I'm the person you gave $17,000 to, and it's, for me, it comes down to a lot of the continuity from the very beginning of, if you see my ad on Facebook and you click on it because I said, hey, get a ballpark estimate within seconds, and you click on that, you should come to a landing page that has that estimator right there and ready for you, so that, hey, from the very first time I said anything to you, I backed it up with facts. Yep. I said you would get an instant quote in seconds. Here you are on an instant quote page. It gave it to you in seconds. When I tell you we're going to follow up with a full presentation when you book an appointment, I am following all the way through with that. So the customer gets used to, every time you tell me something, it happens. That should be the experience for the customer. Every time, from the smallest to the largest thing, if you say it, that's what happens. And that kind of being able to follow through with that in a legitimate professional presentation like this really speaks volumes to that.
Yeah. And I wanted to even mention, just from the sales rep, like making it easy. And that is one thing that they have simplified, not making it complicated, making it super easy to follow through and having that experience with the homeowner for your sales reps as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, where we go kind of a step further, we're talking about it right now from like the customer's perspective, right? What they expect and what we can facilitate. But I'd be remiss not to talk about, what impact we can have on your sales organization, you as the contractor, owner, sales manager, leader, whatever that is. The sales process and the components that all go into putting together a sale in the home, it's a very bespoke process. All the inputs, there's multiple inputs and they're usually not connected, right? So if you think about that, what you're seeing on your screen here, all the kind of components of OneClick, there is more, but these are the main ones, is that we're integrating that tech stack, right? So we're integrating with your CRM, we're integrating with solutions like Roofle. If you're using EagleView, Hover, GF Quick Measure, those can automatically be pulled in, and those measurements populate our estimator. So it all ties together, but then it's the nuances of, managing photos, managing customer presentations, all your documents. So you're not having versioning issues of your sales team out in the field, collecting payments at the kitchen table, signing contracts. We talk to companies all day long, and I just rattled off like 8 components, and there's people out there that are using 8 different pieces of software to facilitate all that. Right? They've got a photo management tool. They're using Google Drive for documents. They've got, a Keynote or Engage, and then they've got a merchant service. They're using DocuSign, which is all great, but you're going to start getting, death by 1,000 cuts on all the fees that you pay for all that. And then you have to manage all those outside of it. And so, that's where we kind of have that harmony in our platform where, you can use all these components or you can just use some of them. You're not getting charged for what you use or don't use. We're very clean and upfront with how we go to market and how we charge. So our goal is to simplify everybody's life, and then I can sleep better at night.
That is perfectly fair. I think, Courtney, do we have one last slide here?
Yeah, and I kind of touched on this on the next one of just in a couple of different talking points, but there's a great quote in here from a good partner of ours that's been at multiple companies of the secret sauce. But what's ultimately won and how we've been successful is bringing everything together in one cohesive solution. But what I touched on of like the lack of trust in this space of, I think we're number 2 in consumer sentiment outside of used car salesmen from a confidence and a trust. But if you take that component out of it, if you putting your best foot forward, showing up very professional, you're setting the tone. If you're using a solution like Roofle, that's what they expect. Like, hey, this company's legit. They're bringing something new to the table. But you also have to be cognizant that the way that consumers purchase and the way they expect to interact with people has fundamentally changed. And Justice, you touched on that, right? Amazon ruined us all, and I'm not going to go down that path, but consumers are more educated than they've ever been. And, that's part of your fault, Roofle, right? They like, hey, what's a roof cost? Well, I can log in and I can tell in 30 seconds what a roof costs, but that's great. So they're coming in there, they're price conditioned, they have an idea. People want speed and they want transparency. And then on top of that, they want accuracy, what you've kind of told them up front when that salesman's sitting at the kitchen table. And when the rubber meets the road and they put it together, or, once the job's sold, they don't want any changes. They don't want change orders. They don't want price changes. They don't want delays. And so, that has to be top of mind, that you're building the confidence, you're building the trust during that sales process. And, going in there with a pen and paper is not the best foot forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. To each their own, but we're specifically talking about kind of bringing that holistic professionalism to every aspect of your sales procedure. So your customers have that kind of continuity of experience from the first encounter to the final sign off and walkthrough of that project. So we have a really nice integration video that shows kind of the steps in connecting this integration. We also have, of course, there's support from our side for getting this integration set up on the front end, and then there is support from the one-click side. So if you're a current dual customer of Roofle and OneClick, we have resources, we have teams in place to help you get this dialed in to suit your exact needs. So we're going to show you kind of the brass tacks of what it looks like to get this integration set up and kind of the biggest pieces of what you can do with this tool and with this integration. And then rest assured, you have the support, you have the training, you have the education coming behind it. If you need further assistance, if you need further guidance, if you just kind of want to dig in, have a conversation about what more you can do to implement and to optimize this, we are here for all of that. So whenever you're ready, Courtney, we can pop that next one up and we can kind of dig through this next piece.
I don't know what happened to my brain. 1 second, guys.
That is perfectly fine.
It happens to me every day.
Yeah, join the club. Join the club. This is the like 30 to 40 minutes out of my week or every 2 weeks that I make sure I'm completely zeroed in. Outside of this, oof. I'll get customers on a meeting or on like a training and be like, are you the one that does those webinars? And me and Courtney do them. I know. I'm a whole different person if I'm not, on a webinar. And if it's just a training, good luck.
I was going to say, and good luck. I hope that everybody can hear this. Please let me know if you guys aren't able to hear this, but I'm going to just press play.
One-click contractor with RoofQuote Pro to send instant quote leads automatically to your account so you can leverage your favorite sales tools in one click. Let's dive in. First, let's connect your one-click account inside your RoofQuote Pro portal. In your RoofQuote Pro admin account, go to Settings, then Developer. Find the one-click contractor integration card and click Connect Account. Enter your one-click contractor account login credentials, your email and password. Click Save and Continue. On the Contact Details tab, select the job type for all contacts that will be sent to your OCC account. And to complete the connection, simply click Save. If your account connected successfully, you'll see the one-click contractor card showing Connected in the integrations page. Congratulations, you've successfully integrated your one-click contractor account. Next, let's test out our new integration and see what it can do. Open up Rep Quotes and create a new lead. In a new tab, open your one-click contractor customers dashboard. Find and open the new lead record. Verify the following details were automatically included: all contact information, the job type that was selected when connecting your account. Aerial imagery of the structures used for your instant quote will be in your photos. PDFs of all quotes that were sent will be in your docs. Products, pricing, financing info, and outbound emails will be logged in job notes. Anytime you update an instant quote from Rep Quotes or send another quote through email, this activity will be logged and updated in your one-click job record. And there you go. That's how to integrate your one-click contractor and Roof Quote Pro accounts. This integration is especially valuable for selling remotely and for contractors who service multiple trades like siding and windows. Roofl's technology is designed to build trust with prospects and grow your lead count from the very first engagement that happens on your website or in the field. One-click enables your sales team to deliver professional presentations and signable final proposals for multiple trades using detailed measurements like EagleView Premium reports. Pro tip: turn on automated EagleView orders for more qualified leads to generate proposals and presentations at lightning speed so you can engage with homeowners as quickly and professionally as possible.
There we go. So that's kind of a general overview of what you can expect when you run this integration. Chad, any kind of general thoughts on what you saw there, or anything that kind of jumped out at you before we kind of move on with anything else?
No, I think, one of the biggest things, and this is more of a commercial for you guys than it is for us, we come into it, but, you hear everybody talking about it in the industry, all of the leaders, the talking heads, the pundits, whatever you want to call it, is, the cost of leads is going up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to two people in the past week and a half, and one was at 21% and one was at 23%. The amount more they spent this year for the same amount of leads that they got in 2023. And that's a real number. And both of these companies are real companies. And when I say that, like $20+ million. So, their lead spend is a real number. And so, I think having that as top of mind, anything that you can do to, new ways to get leads, which I view you guys as, a new lead source than the traditional ones that are out there. And then, so that's one component of it, but then what your focus and what you're doing to ensure that you're providing the best sales experience, the best customer buying experience that you possibly can once you get in that door. I think that's where a lot of the focus needs to be is, not necessarily focused on getting more leads, but it's what you're doing with the leads that you're getting today and what can you do to improve upon that kind of sales experience, which is where we both come together.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of like the leads, as they become more expensive, they become more precious. And as we get them in, you make sure to hold on to them even tighter. And anything that you can do, if a lead comes in, let's make sure that we hold on to it as dearly as we possibly can to make the most out of any leads that do come in,
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, Chad, so what we typically do as we start to wrap up, and of course, if anyone has questions or anyone has anything that they want to throw into the chat to add to this discussion, please feel free to do so. But I always like to see when we get somebody else from the industry, especially somebody else who's on maybe a different side of the industry or a slight different aspect, I like to just see what you're generally seeing across the industry, or any trends that you see coming down the pipe, any changes that you see coming, or just what's been notable about this year or what you expect to see next year, besides obviously the cost of leads going up.
Yeah. No, I think, outside of cost of leads, obviously the new regulation that's coming with, leads are more one-to-one. I don't try to be a subject matter expert and talk on that, but that's, gonna have a real impact. I think, from the seat that I sit in, there's some uncertainty of the impact from, people buying from traditional sources. I know there'll be some creative problem solving that goes around from the traditional lead aggregators and how they distribute those. But there's been, you always have market uncertainty pre-election. And, now that we're post-election, things will kind of settle out. But, we always try to look at our business. So I'll kind of give you guys my 2 cents from how we think about things and how we talk about it. And then when I get into kind of business conversations with some of our partners, is that, one theme that's always really served us well is the idea of constantly improving upon your business. So when there is a decline in top line revenue or leads or whatever may impact that you're better positioned to weather the storm, right? And so that's not a profound statement, but how you do that, I think, is more impactful. And so we kind of think about it in 3 pillars. And so it's human capital, process, and technology and tools. We're a technology company, but with that being said, we're always looking at technology to improve our business, whether, it's the CRM or back end stuff, finance. We have a lot of moving parts of our business, but, I was on a development call this morning and, we're switching out some back end tech and, to set us up for better success and better growth in 2025 and beyond. But, if I kind of break that down, human capital, ensuring that you got the right people in the right roles. And again, that's kind of business 101, but something when you get busy and you wear 1,000 hats, sometimes, it's better to have a butt in the seat than the right person in the seat, but it might be time to step back and make sure the right people are on the bus and in the right seats, and then process, the methods that you use to execute on those leads and all that. And that's where we come in, right? So Roofle's a great way for you, a great process for you to execute on those leads and garner more leads. And One Click is a great process and a solution that kind of goes into the tools as well. So I'd say One Click fits more in the tools and tech side, but what that enables is better processes. Everybody's speaking the same language, everybody's rowing in the same direction, and everybody's doing the same thing. So whether you have 2 sales reps or you have 1,000 sales reps, which we have customers that are on both ends of the spectrum, is that everybody knows exactly what the other person's doing. And there's a lot of value that we could spend a whole nother webinar on talking about that alone.
Oh yeah, no, you definitely could. That all of that sort of stuff of just kind of making sure that you're not letting the noise of the rush that we're always kind of feeling get in the way of making sure that you're making responsible decisions for your business and making sure that you don't lose sight of, the forest for the trees, right? That's something that we, in the startup world specifically, we see that pretty often, right? We all, like you said, wear many hats. We sit in a lot of seats. We have our fingers, in all kinds of places, and we're constantly moving from priority to priority. And so it's very prescient of you to kind of remind us, especially towards the end of a year, as we're kind of rolling into a new year, to be aware of kind of the priorities and kind of let things settle enough to see what's around and where we need to prioritize coming into a new year. Especially with, like you said, the economy stabilizing post-election, and as we roll into a spring with, especially with inflation coming under control, it does look like we might come into a happy spring. Everybody's got their own opinions about that, but I'm staying optimistic that we're going to come into a nice strong year with inflation lower than it's been in a little while, and the Fed feeling optimistic about that as well. I'm on the finance side of our business, so that's kind of where I keep my attention, but it's nice to see that coming, and I'm excited for a nice strong year. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, Chad or Courtney?
I appreciate the opportunity. So, we're excited about the partnership, anything that we can do to help you guys out. One of the things that, I would be remiss not to say, and if, there's a big takeaway from this group, you guys see my QR code there, schedule time, whether, if you're not on a sales platform or using something like this, like Let's Talk. If you are using a competing service and not happy, let's talk. We might be a fit, we might not. If there's one big takeaway about One Click that this crew takes is that, our customer success team is world-class. So we do all the heavy lifting for you. So if you're a new customer, we'll help you set up the integration. We'll help build everything out for you. We'll do the training. I say this all the time, but it's so true, is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we're going to do everything that we can in our power to set you up for success and set your team up for success. Because if you're not happy, we're not happy, and you're not going to stay a long-term partner of ours.
And honestly, I just want to reiterate that any contractor that of ours is using One Click, I have heard nothing but exactly what you're stating. So it is a platform that we know and have seen and have heard from current contractors that use it, absolutely love it, and that it's been a game changer for their business.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Chad, specifically, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. I appreciate your insights. We'd be happy to have you back. I'm sure we're going to deepen this integration and partnership. So, hey, who knows? In the next couple of months, I might reach out to do a little recap on anything that's changed or updates or anything like that. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for your attention. We've got a couple more coming through the end of the year. And then January, we're starting strong with a couple exciting episodes. So keep an eye out. I'm sure you'll see the invites. Until then, take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.